Uh, just for your information, class, live is until Saturday only, but next week it will be exclusive for the enrolled teacher A reviewees. Okay, so we will start the final coaching by Friday, next Friday, and then Saturday. So hindi na siya magiging live sa FB page and then also sa YouTube. Thank you. Sir Doc Basbas, can we start now?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, to our participants here in Teacher A. I am Arthur Basbas, your lecturer for this afternoon, and our topic will be around child and adolescent development. In a few introduction, I am presently working in Kingdom of Bahrain. I am also connected to organization of teachers, Filipino Teachers Association in Bahrain, and I am working in a training program for the past 10 years from Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. But before that, I was then a public school teacher in Samar, Department of Education. I handled elementary, high school also. And luckily, I passed the licensure examination last 2004. So I would like you to welcome to this afternoon sessions, and I am here to assist you for any requirements you need for let's review class, and I'm here to help you for this. And I cannot promise a perfect or comprehensive review, but I'll try our best to help you to gain skills and knowledge. And I know this would be a perfect time for you to review because in preparation of your exams. And that's it. I think we're going to start first for a prayer for to start our session today.
Sir Rico.
Okay po. And once again, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Let us put ourselves in the loving presence of our Lord. Yes, Lord, we praise you, we glorify you, our loving Father. Lord, we humbly ask you for the forgiveness of all our sins. And Lord, we thank you for all the blessings you have given to us, for the day that you have given to us, for this very moment as we prepare for our review session, O Lord. And Lord, be with us all throughout this review session. Open our minds and our hearts, O Lord. All of this we offer through to all our loved ones, and most importantly, for the greater glory of you, our loving Father. All of this we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's start with this, our review. I would like to share to you my screen, and please let me know if you could see it.
Yes po, Doc.
It's in the full screen, right? Okay. This subject or this session about child and adolescent development is the most basic, is one of the most important subject or session you need to know. So the question is, as teachers, why do we need to know about child and adolescent development? I am very much interested, or I would appreciate if our participants or our reviewees can participate, interact with this discussion, because through interaction you learn something and you get something, because you speak, you learn, and you think. Now, if I say some questions, if I ask some questions, I would like to know the voice of our participants, and this is the most important thing to know. My first question is, as teachers, why we need to know the child and adolescent development? Anyone from participants? I could not see in my side here. if you'd like to participate or speak something, just turn on your audio and say something. Don't be shy because we are here. This is a learning activity. This is a session. So I want you to know why we need to know child and adolescent development as teachers. Or you want me to point someone? I would like to ask Mom Marilu.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am Marilu, anything?
Because we're dealing with our learners, we should know their interest, their origin, and their attitude, so that we will know how to handle them.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for participation, Ma'am Marilu. How about Ma'am Julie?
Their interest, their origin.
Ma'am Julie, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, I think she has something. Okay. Now let's just proceed with this. Thank you for that participation. Now, in child and adolescent development, we have to know this because we are involved in teaching students. We need to know the development of our pupils. We need to know in which level, in which stage they have problems, or we need to know why they have something wrong in their growth and development. So in this subject, we have two words to remember: the child and adolescent. When we say child, I would like to give you a few background first before going to the question and answer, that we need to focus on their childhood. And during this period is defined as the time for a boy or girl from birth until he or she is an adult. In another, it is more circumscribed period of time from infancy to the onset of puberty. And for adolescent, the clue word here is about adulthood. It means that this is a period of transition from childhood to adulthood. And also, this is sometimes described as the beginning in parallel with fertility or puberty and ending with maturity and independence. So adolescence has a very variable and imprecise duration. When say imprecise, it's unprotected or not precise duration. So you're going to mark in your mind that child about childhood, adolescent about adulthood. And if we could say child, it might be reached only in 18 years old. And this is the right for that to have the right in our law for that childhood. So we have basic concepts in child adolescent development. We have the growth and development. These two words, please remember that the differences of these two words and about growth, this refers to quantitative changes in an individual as he progresses in chronological age. This refers to increase in size, in height, or weight. And the growth also is a rapid during prenatal, neonatal, infancy, and adolescence. Prenatal before birth, then neonatal after birth, then infancy or baby, then going to adolescent. While the development, this is a progressive series of changes of an orderly and coherent type leading to individual's maturation. So this is also the capacity and skill of a person to adapt to the environment. When you say environment, it consists of the family, the church, the school, the community. And this also pertains to behavioral aspect of growth. Another two words to remember here is about heredity and environment. Heredity is a process of transmitting biological traits from parents to offspring through genes and the basic units of heredity. And also this brings about the development through the process of maturation, which is unfolding of hereditary potentials. While the environment, as I said earlier, this refers to the surrounding conditions, the influential factor about growth and development, about the family, the parents, the community, the church, and which can influence a certain child. And environment also is a big part for the process of development that occurs through the medium of environment is about learning. And please take note also about maturation and attachment. We say maturation is a consist of changes that occur relatively independent of environment, and this is usually considered to be genetically programmed the result of heredity. And through aging, you can see the paramount changes in a certain child. And another word is attachment. This refers to close emotional bond children normally form with those who care for them. So our review this afternoon will focus on the child's development and every aspect or in different aspects. So it's about physical and motor development, language development, psychosocial development, moral development, cognitive development, social development, personality development, psychosocial development, brain development. And during our formative years, it took us 4 years or one semester or 1 year to learn about child growth and development. But this time we will put this together in an hour only, but we'll tackle all of those important things. So because it will take time to discuss all of these development happening to a certain child. And the most important thing here, take note that we need to know the theories, because during your let exams, they will not tell you which theory only, but they will tell you in a situation, in a situational base that based on situation, which theory being applied, or who is a philosopher, or who give us the theory that you're going to jive in a certain situation. So you must know the theory base first, learn the situation, and apply the theory that applicable in that kind of situation. They will not only you to define what is development, what is psychosocial development. It's not usually in that kind of test. You not only simply define, but you also know the theory and how you're going to apply the theory. That's the basic in our formative years. So as teachers, as I said earlier, that we need to know the different kinds of theories involved in child and adolescent development for us to adjust, for us to know which stage we need to know their development. If, for example, at the age of 5, we should know that this kind of level, they must learn something. Like, for example, we need to be cooperative in playing, associative in playing with others. But as teacher, we need to observe that how come in that stage of their life that they cannot do this, they cannot do that. That's why that's the most important thing that we need to know the child and adolescent development for us to know which level they need to progress or not. If there's something wrong, there will be something wrong for you to analyze. So aside from this, as I said earlier, the theories, we need to know the theories, but we need also the philosophers, or the people involved in this, because without them, we cannot identify also, like Noam Chomsky, Sigmund Freud, Erik Erikson, Jean Piaget, Lawrence Kohlberg, Lev Vygotsky, Albert Bandura, and so many more. No, we will not discuss all of these people involved in these theories, but we'll only tackle some important skills and knowledge in this, so that you get reminded of the questions or the pattern of questions they're going to raise during let. Now, let's go Q&A. I want you to prepare a sheet of paper and numbers them 1 to 30, and please answer by yourself and correct it by yourself after a certain discussion, okay? I want you to prepare a paper there, 1 to 30, then answer each item by yourself and correct it by yourself. We will discuss we will rationalize the answer to each question, okay? But I think I need someone to participate with me through reading the questions for you to remember also. Okay, the first question. What do you call the quantitative increase in terms of height and weight as observed by the school physician during the physical examination of the students? A, development, B, growth, C, learning, D, maturation. I would appreciate also if someone can share in the chat box for their answer. At least we have interactive review class here. Okay. As we discussed earlier about developments about now, going back to the question, you need to know first the subject of the question is what is being asked. So here, we will give you one tip that you need to know first the question, the content of the question, or what's being asked in the question. So the question is asking about the physical examination. So if you analyze by yourself that when it comes to physical examination and go to the choices, you need to remove something from the choices which is not applicable. So the clue here is physical examination, and of course, learning is not part of physical examination. And for development, it pertains to behavioral aspect of growth, and for growth refers to quantitative changes, and maturation is about change to aging. So the correct answer here is letter B, growth. Okay, for question number 2, blank is a branch of psychology that studies how people grow and change throughout the course of their lives. A, social psychology, B, biological psychology, C, developmental psychology, or D, behavioral psychology. As I said, you need to know first the content of the question and what is being asked. Here it's asking about grow and change throughout the course of their lives. So grow and change, when it comes to social psychology, this refers to society, of course. The clue word here about society, social environment, influence, and relate to others. So you need to know each choices. The biological, this refers to psychological basis of behavior, learning, memory, cognition, and mental disorders. And developmental psychology, study of human growth and development over the lifespan. And remember, the behavioral psychology is trying to understand why we behave the way we do and they are concerned without discovering patterns in our actions and behaviors. So the nearest answer to this question is about developmental psychology. So the answer for question number 2 is developmental psychology. Okay, I think Sir asked me to see also or active in our live. So we have 193 viewers in our live, and be with me for that. Developmental psychology. I think Sir asked me to see also or active in our live. So we have 193 viewers in our live, and be with me for that. Okay, go. For number 3. Eliza is 8 years old, and although she understands some logical principles, she still has troubles in understanding hypothetical concepts. According to Piaget, Eliza belongs to what particular stage of cognitive development? A, sensory motor, B, pre-operational, C, concrete operational, D, formal operational. What is the main subject or what's being asked in the question? Now, I will give you a tip or tips for answering situational questions. In answering situational questions, you need to study first the question. I'll give you a tip here. From myself, it's about LSA. I say LSA, L for level or age, S for subject, A for aspect. Wherein you need to know first, what is the level of development we need to is being asked in the question. The subject, what is being asked, and the aspect, in what aspect, if it is cognitive development, if it is psychosocial development, if it is about affective development. So these three things, level, subject, aspect, these three you need to see first in every question. Here, going back to the question, Eliza is 8 years old, and although she understands some logical principles, she still has troubles in understanding hypothetical concepts. According to Piaget, Eliza belongs to what particular stage of cognitive? So what stage are they asking about? Eliza is 8 years old, and the subject is about hypothetical concepts, and the aspect is about cognitive development. Now, I want you to remember that in our four choices here, these are actually the concrete, the exact level of cognitive development of Piaget. So remember, 8 years old. So going back, or remember the level of cognitive development, we have sensory motor from birth to 2 years old, for pre-operational from 2 to 7, for concrete operational from 7 to 11, and for formal operational from 11 and beyond. Now, remember, if the clue word is a formal operational, the formal operational happens in the last stage from 11 years old and above, and the sensory about from birth to years old. Going back to the question, it says here that 8 years old. Now, if you cannot remember what does it mean by pre-operational, what does it mean by concrete operational, just use your common sense that formal operational happens in the last stage, and it be after 11. So the 8 years old belongs to concrete operational. So the correct answer is concrete operational. Moving on, I want you to remember the cognitive development of Piaget, that the word object permanence. It means from birth to 2 years old, the children know that an object still exists even if it is hidden or is not around. So this happens in the sensory motor. It comes with their sense. And for pre-operational stage, this is 2 to 7 years, we have 3 words to remember here: egocentrism, centration, and animism. When you say egocentrism, it refers to the child's inability to see a situation from another person's point of view. So not from his point of view, okay? This happens in between 2 to years old. Later on, you will see the opposite of this. In other words, please take note of the word centration, because we'll encounter words or questions regarding centration later on. Centration is the tendency to focus on only one aspect of situation at one time. If you could see here the example, ang bata, bibigyan mo siya ng 2 glasses of water filled with the same amount of water, then the glass A, if you want to fill it in another glass in a different size, then you have to ask the student or ask the child kung alin dito ang mas maraming content. So he would say that, of course, the long one, the other size, rather than the small size, because they are centered, they are focused on one aspect of situation at a time, only the figure they're looking for. Take note that centration has another opposite, or has opposite concept in another stage. And the last word, please take note, animism. This is a belief of inanimate object, animation, such as the toys that they believe that it's have feelings like that. Again, egocentrism, centration, animism. What stage? Pre-operational stage. And at the same time, we have 2 words here, the artificialism. Pag sinabing artificialism, yung batang niniwala na someone does a thing, like sa labas, sabi nila, ang siguro yung clouds puti because someone painted it white. Bakit mahangin sa labas? Maybe someone is blowing hard like that. So their imagination or artificialism during this 2 years old stage is about pre-operational stage. And another word you have to remember is about irreversibility. I mean, This refers to young child's difficulty mentally, referring to a sequence of events. Now, irreversibility means hindi sila makapag-reverse. Take note, there's another concept of this in another stage. Irreversibility, hindi makapag-reverse, like counting. They only count 1 to 10 or so on and so forth, but they don't know how to count backwards. And another stage, take note, is a concrete operational. In this stage, take note of these words: elimination of egocentrism, reversibility, serration, conservation, classification, and decentering. Now, clue or tip in review or your let do not specify these stages or these kind of concepts and concrete operational stage. Rather, they will give you situation. For example, they will present a situation. You will identify which level or which stage of Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Let's tackle this one by one. We need to focus first on elimination of egocentrism. In another stage earlier, the stage 2, that we have egocentrism. Here, elimination of egocentrism, which means that they have now the ability to view things from another's perspective, or they will consider their own perspective or the other's perspective. Elimination, so eliminating or removing. And serration is the ability to sort objects in an order according to size, color, shape, or any other characteristics. For example, putting all the red or the yellow or the square, the circle. Another word is conservation. This is the opposite of centration. Kung ang centration kanina ay nagfo-focus sila sa size lang ng tubig na sa isang shape, mas mataas ang content ng tubig, doon sila nagfo-focus. Pero sa stage na to, sa concrete operational stage, naniniwala ng mga bata na they can identify a certain quantity with the same amount, with the same shape, regardless of the shape, regardless of the container, but they believe now that the content ay parehas na, because in this stage, 7 to 11, of course, they can identify. And another word here is reversibility, where the child understands the number of or objects can be changed. Again, yung word kanina sa lower level ay irreversibility. This word is reversibility. In this stage, they can now count backwards. Ang una, only counting forward, or now you can count backwards as well forwards. And another word here is classification. Classification is the ability to identify the properties of categories. Participants, please take note ng pagkakaiba ng serration at saka classification. Ang serration about size, color, and shape. But the classification is categorizing of certain objects. Halimbawa, lahat ng mga t-shirts, lahat ng mga shorts, lahat ng mga objects, lahat ng mga toys, categorizing them. But serration is according to size, color, and shape. And please take note also of this another word, decentering. Ang example nito, halimbawa, binigyan mo ng candy or lollipop ang bata, tapos dalawa, you can choose A or B. Sabihin ng bata, ma-identify niya na parehas lang silang lollipop, parehas lang size, pero saan siya magbabase? Doon siya sa taste. So, yun na itong level na to, ang 7-11 years old na mga bata, doon sila makakapag-identify na parehas ng object, parehas ng size, pero doon sila magbabasa ng pagkakaiba, magbabasa ng lasa siguro. So now they have the multiple aspects of solving a problem. And the last stage of cognitive development is about formal-rational. Ang sabi ko kanina, last stage to, the clue word is formal. Formal means they can answer abstract thinking, or they can solve higher scientific mathematics. These actually from grades 5 and 6 above, or grade 6 above, like that. They can now answer hypothetical questions. We can answer proportional reasoning, metacognition, probabilistic reasoning. Okay, so this is more higher level. I will not tackle this individually, but I will just raise some questions regarding this cognitive development of Jean Piaget. Moving on to the question here. Here, mother noticed that Isabel completes her tasks at a slower pace than usual. When she tried to investigate, she saw that Isabel was meticulously arranging her things according to their size and color. Okay, what is the subject here? It's looking for size and color. Very clear that we discussed earlier that we have choices: serration, classification, conservation, concentration. Anyone from our live telecast here can answer and tell me the answer. Remember that concentration is about aspect of one situation, yung focus lang sa isang object. And conservation about determining the quantity will remain the same despite adjustment of container. And classification is about the ability to identify the properties of categories, and serration about size, color, and shape. So the correct answer here is serration. Thank you. Now, number 5. It is a tendency to view the world from one's own perspective and not being capable of seeing things from another person's perspective. A, egocentrism, B, narcissism, C, empathy, D, stability. So for discussion, it's self-explanatory that empathy and stability are not belong, that stability is about being stable in such strength. Empathy is ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Narcissism is one's admiration or admiration to one's identified self-image. The egocentrism is about to ability to see the situation from another points of view. So the correct answer is egocentrism. Number 6, in Jean Piaget theory of cognitive development, modifying an existing scheme after an individual's interaction with the environment, resulting in the creation of new scheme. A, assimilation, B, interaction, C, recognition, D, accommodation. Now, take note of the theory of cognitive of Jean Piaget that the two words, assimilation and accommodation, very common po ito sa child and adolescent development. Now, for these 4 choices, very easy to remove the two choices, interaction and recognition. Cognitive theory of Jean Piaget has 2 words to remember: assimilation and accommodation lang. Later, I will discuss to you what does it mean. Now, ang assimilation and accommodation, para madali nyo ma-remember, ganito yon. Sa assimilation, ang bata ay mayroon na siyang natutunan, no? Mayroon siyang natutunan. Looking at the picture, sabi niya, yung object na yan or yung hayop na yan is a cat or anumang object nakita niya. Assimilation ay pag nakita siya ng isang object rin na halos parehas or parang cat siya for his own learning, sabihin niya cat yon. Pag may taong nag-correct sa kanya, nasabihin niya, hindi yan cat or cub yan. So sabihin niya, okay, cub. So a learning from another person, he will accommodate the new learning. So that's called accommodation. So very basic po yan, assimilation and accommodation. Another example, sabihin mo na nakita siya ng boat, maliit lang na boat. So every time na makita ang bata ng parehas na object sa ibang place, like, that's a boat. Pero someone will correct him na, hindi yan boat, yan ay yacht. So now that the student or the child will now accommodate the new learning about the yacht. So that's what the accommodation. You're putting a new schema. You're putting another knowledge, another skills. So very basic in understanding the assimilation and accommodation. Going back to the question, the correct answer here is accommodation. Number 7, the use of mnemonics helps pupils information. A, to apply, B, analyze, C, remember, D, understand. Mnemonics, it means this is a technique actually that to retrieve the information. So, for example, if you want to remember the planets, so sometimes we would put clue, like my very educated mother just served as noodles, using the first letter of the word, MVEMJSU, and this corresponds to the 9 planets. So just simple technique in remembering ideas or information. So going back to the information here is to remember. Of course, the answer is remember. Number 8, according to Jean Piaget, this level of development occurs from 12 to 18 months of a child, and is when the child starts to develop his curiosity. Okay, my tip for LSA is to know the level. The level of the age is 12 to 18. So therefore, 12 to 18, almost to adulthood period. So what is being asked here is about his curiosity, so cognitive. Now, in the level of Jean Piaget, the level of development, do the removing some useless choices here. So for the level of development, tatlong po yan, the primary, secondary, and tertiary. So remember, 12 to 18 months, remove reflex scheme level because going to the pattern does not belong to our choices. So remember the substages of Jean Piaget's level of cognitive development from birth to 1 month. It's about reflexes, movement, no? Then 1 to 4 months, about primary circular reactions, and 4 to 18 months, secondary circular reactions, 8 to 12 months, about secondary schemata, 12 to 18 months, tertiary circular reactions, and 18 to 24 months about inventions of new means through mental combinations. So sa level pa lang na sinabi ni kanina, 12 to 18. So the question corresponds to tertiary level. Going back to the question, the answer is letter C, tertiary circular level. Kasi yung clue natin doon ang 12 to 18. Moving on. 9 question. Number 9. What is the correct sequence of prenatal stages of development? Again, prenatal. Subject, prenatal. We say prenatal, before giving birth. So kung before giving birth, ang last stage niya before giving birth, of course, fetus. So hindi pwede magsimula yan sa embryo or seminal like that. So take note, prenatal stage, before giving birth. So before giving birth, of course, ready na siya, yung last stage na siya, fetus na yung bata. So ngayon, go to the choices. Alin dito yung mga choices na may fetus ang last stage? So dalawa, A and C. So kung may A and C na, cross out mo na of course yung dalawang B and D. Focus ka na lang sa A and C. Now, go to the theory. Let's go to the theory that the sequence. Remember, 0 to 2 weeks, germinal, 3 to 8 weeks, embryonic, and the fetus stage in the baby in the mother's womb. So this is the last stage ready for delivery. So take note, germinal, embryo, fetus. So the correct answer is letter C. Thank you for your participation in our live. At least nakuha nila yung mga sagot na tama. Very basic po iyan. Number 10. These statements imply that children at the early learning stage consider parents and teachers as authorities and models. Anong hinihingi sa question? Learning stage daw about authorities and models. They're trying to imply na yung mga teachers at parents are model nila. So they're following what they're doing. That's why sinasabi natin na ang bata pag pina-follow, sinusunod ang ginawa ng matatanda because they know it's correct, they know their model according to their own perspective. So choices. A, parents and teachers should always coordinate children's activities. B, parents should enforce strict discipline at home and teachers in school. C, parents and teachers should be the role models at all times. D, parents and teachers should always consult each other with regards to the child's intellectual development. Pagbabasihan mo sa mga choices na to, yung A, sabi daw, coordinate children's activity. Hindi man siguro all the time mag-coordinate sila. And should parents enforce a strict discipline? Siguro self-explanatory na rin, or you have to realize that it's not all that happens all the time. And letter D, that will not consult all the time with regards to intellectual development. Though Parents and Teachers Association does this one, but the closer answer is letter C. Parents and teachers should be the role models at all times, at any times, anywhere, like that. That's why this is the most significant role of our teachers and parents. We both know that we need to act as model. Number 11, sequence in which growth starts at the center of the body and moves toward the extremities. What is extremities? This is extremities, the farthest part of the body, the movement. Ito lang ang words na lagi kong titandaan when I was in college about proximodistal and cephalocaudal. Kung may question na about the growth, kung saan nagsimula. Again, kung ang growth ay saan nagsimula, lagi mong tandaan na dalawa lang yan, proximo at saka cephalocaudal. Wala na ang latency because latency is about the delay between the cause and effect of some physical change. Wala na dyan ang Oedipal complex because it's about describing child's feelings and desire for the opposite sex. So we will just focus on proximo and cephalo. That's the clue word for that. Again, for cephalocaudal, it starts at the top, from the head goes to the down. The proximo is from the heart or from the center part of the body and moves towards the extremis, pinakamalayong part na niya. So the correct answer is letter A. Next, number 12. Which type of play is most characteristics of a 4 to 6 years old child? In this question, my dear participants, we are now discussing about the social development. So, yung playmates ay part ng social development. So, A, solitary and onlooker plays. B, associative and cooperative plays. C, associative and onlooker plays. D, cooperative and solitary plays. Kung hindi mo alam ang concept ng mga iba't ibang klase ng plays, type of plays, hindi mo masagutan to. Pero, ang ano dyan, ang clue dyan or ang tip, just go with the choices. Know the content of the choices. Onlooker, halimbawa, hindi mo talaga masyadong alam pa yung iba't ibang klase ng plays, onlooker means observant. Associative means association, associating with someone. Okay? Cooperative with cooperation ng isang tao, hindi siya alone. Pag sinabing onlooker siguro, siya lang mag-isa, siya lang naglalaro, or solitary siguro, siya lang mag-isa naglalaro. So, ngayon, ang characteristics daw ng isang 4 to 6 years old, go to your own observation. Minsan, may mga kapatid ka or pamangkin, nakikita mo na 4 to 6 years old na sila. Ano ba yung how do they play? May kasama na ba siya? Sila mo mag-isa? Example, take note, 4 to 6 years old. Alam mo anong stage ng bata pag 4 to 6 na yan. Hindi mo masyadong, minsan naiiwan mo na yan, naglaro mag-isa, or may mga kalaro mag-isa. Diyan ang stage na gusto mong iwan na lang sila sa kanyang mga kalaro. So diyan mo nalaman kung kailangan ba niya, normal lang ba sa edad niya ang maghanap ng kalaro? Normal lang ba sa edad niya na mag-isa lang siya? So that's an important thing that we need to know the different types of plays. So take note, 4 to 6, huh? Here, what are the types of play for children? We have unoccupied, 0 to 3 months yan. For solitary, 0 to 2 years. Pag sinabing unoccupied, walang kasama, siya lang mag-isa, movement of her arms, legs lang, ganun lang. Pero pag solitary, 0 to 2 years, mag-isa siya, pero interesting with a quiet place. Onlooker, observant. Nag-observe lang muna siya, spectator, tawag dyan. It happens in 2 years old. Yung parallel, when a child plays alongside or near to others but does not play with them. Parang, kung bigyan mo ng activities ang bata, gagawin niya alone. So, medyo that's called parallel. Associate or associative play, this happens between 3 to 4 years old, na ang bata ay somewhat na may interaction na with others during playtime, or there is a quite cooperation or a required play. And cooperative, this happens for 4 years above, when the child plays with others that has interest in both the activity and other children involved in playing. That's why 4 to 4 years above, ito na yung mga nasa kindergarten class na gusto nila mag-cooperate sa isa, happy na sila na pag-cooperate sa ibang mga kalaro. Going back to that question, we are focusing between 3 to 4. So the correct answer is associative and cooperative plays, letter B. Next question. It is the brain's ability to change from experience. Ability, the subject here about ability to change. When we say learning, it's a process of acquiring new understanding, knowledge, and behaviors. Yung tabula rasa, it's a John Slack's theory about smooth or erased tablet or blank tablet, very basic in education and about tabula rasa. The growth, as I discussed earlier, is a process of increasing in size or shape or height. And of course, the new word here in this question is about plasticity. When we say plasticity, is ability to change from experience, from purchase of experience and new knowledge. Sabi dito sabi sa development na to, ang brain development natin ang nagsimula from 3rd to 4th week after conception. So the learning occurs through connections. So ang bata ay matutunan niya na yung mga sa sounds, sa environment niya na please take note also that the plasticity is continues to develop and sometimes daw declines adulthood. Once na wala ka nang masyadong na-practice yung utak mo or yung mind mo, that's why karoon tayo ng medyo loose memory, gano'n. So the correct answer is plasticity. Ability to change from experience. 14. The degradation of synapses of the dying off of neurons that are not strengthened by experience. Ito ang sinasabi kanina na hindi na pa-practice yung mind mo. So what may happen? Retardation is about delaying or slowing the progress of development of something. Forgetting is just a simple loss or change in information that was previously stored in a short term or long term. Proning, aging means changes in human being over time. It's a physical, it's a physical changes. But the proning, ang sasabi dito, it is the eliminates weaker synaptic contacts while stronger connections are kept and strengthened. So yung plasticity and proning, it comes together. Nasabi dito na ang plasticity enables the process of developing and proning connections, allowing brain to adapt itself to its environment. So going back to the question, the answer is letter C, proning. Question number 15. Which statement on IQ and EQ is correct? Number 1, or A, EQ has a greater contribution to performance than IQ. B, it is the blending of both IQ and EQ that can make a difference in performance. C, the contribution of IQ and EQ to performance is dependent on factors like age and gender. D, IQ has a greater contribution to performance than EQ. Now, remember these questions about cognitive development, IQ and EQ. Remember that the difference about emotional quotient and intelligent quotient. When we say emotional quotient, it comes to affection, about self-awareness, about motivation, self-regulating, social awareness, empathy. Diyan ang nagpo-fall ang EQ. While the intelligent quotient is about expertise, about the critical thinking, about knowing how, cognition through patterns. So very basic po ito na malaman ito ng EQ at saka IQ. So going back to the question, the correct answer is letter B. It is the blending of both IQ and EQ that can make a difference in performance. Kasi pag sa letter A, sabi niya EQ daw was a greater contribution. We cannot tell because halos parehas naman ang performance, halos parehas ang contribution ng IQ at saka EQ. So eliminate A kasi sabi niya greater. Eliminate C because may factor daw yung age at saka gender. Eliminate D kasi daw IQ has a greater contribution. So opposite ang A at saka D na EQ may greater contribution. Sa D naman, IQ has a greater contribution. So those two are not part of our choices. So the correct answer is letter B. 16. He is known as the father of modern IQ test. A. Lawrence Kohlberg. B. Eric Erikson. C. Jan Amos Comenius. D. Louis Terman. So ngayon, ang isa sa mga nangyayari sa LET, kung hindi mo alam yung mga tao, yung mga background nila, minsan dyan ang isa sa mga hindrances. So if you have time, if you know these persons, at least they have a simple background, you will know how to answer. Na si Lawrence, remember, siya ang sa moral development theory. Si Eric Erikson naman, about the 8 stages of life. And Jan Amos about the father of modern education. And Louis Terman, siya yung nag-adapt ng Venice test for use in the United States about the calculation of IQ score. So the correct answer is letter D, Louis. 16. The period of physical, especially sexual and mental maturation, which is characterized by rapid somatic growth, is known as A. Infancy, B. Puberty, C. Early childhood, D. Adulthood. The correct answer is puberty. Next question, 17. Which of the following statements does not apply to adolescents? So the word is, please take note, does not. A, they desire the approval of their peers. B, they seek dependence on their parents. C, they have marked sex development. D, none of the above. For this question, you have to analyze that ano yung mga statement daw na hindi about adolescent. A, they desire the approval of their parents. Hinihingi ba nila approval ng parents all the time? B, they seek dependence on their parents. Gusto ba nila malapit lang sa parents, dependent kasi sa parents nila? And C, they have marked sex development, or none of the above. Take note that adolescent development. So ang adolescent development, adulthood, is 19 years above. Imagine mo, yung mga 19 years old above ng mga bata, ano ba yung mga concepts or statements or behavior nila when it comes to parents or relationship with the parents? Gusto ba nila mag-seek ng approval of their parents? Or want to seek, gusto lang malapit sila o lagi sila dependent sa parents, or they have marked sex development? The correct answer here is letter B. They seek dependence on their parents because not. Remember, yung mga bata gusto nila maging independent lagi sa parents nila. That's why ang question kasi does not apply. Yung first, minsan hinihingi nila ang approval ng parents or peers. Peers, not parents. Approval from their peers, yung mga kalaro nila, yung mga peer group. And letter C, they have marked sex developments. Yes, of course. And D, none of the above. Yung closer answer here is letter B. 18. Regarding the sexual maturation of boys and girls, teachers should bear in mind that. Now, put yourself as a teacher in this situation. A, girls mature at a late stage than boys. B, girls mature at an earlier stage than boys. C, boys and girls mature at the same time. D, there are no marked differences in their time of maturity. Now, the subject here, they're asking about sexual maturation of boys and girls. Now, take note, ito ang isa sa mga pakatandaan nyo na ang babae at saka lalaki, or babae sa babae, di ba, kanya-kanyang development yan. Ang sabi kanina, na ang development is hindi pare-parehas minsan. Though at the same level of age nila, na mapapansin mo dapat na-develop sa kanya yon ganito. Pero ang lalaki at saka babae, tandaan nyo na hindi pa rin parehas ang development nila. So halos ang parehas, ang answer ng mga nasa live natin ay letter B. Tingnan natin kung tamang sagot dyan ay letter B. Na ang babae ay nag-mature earlier than the boys. It's in theory. So the correct answer is letter B. 19. Which of the following is true about abnormal psychology? When you say abnormal psychology, there is not beyond the normal stage or beyond the normal development. A, it studies the cause of personality defects. B, it measures the accomplishments of the individual. C, it concentrates on the scholastic performance of the individual. D, then it investigates the educational background of the individual. Now, pag-aralan mo yung question, the clue here or the subject, ang sabi ko ay abnormal psychology. Wag mo nang tanggalin mo ng abnormal. Go with the psychology. The basic meaning of the psychology study of human's behavior. So, behavior pinag-uusapan dito or about your personality. So, try to cross out some of the choices. A, it studies the cause of personality defects ba? B, it measures the accomplishments of the individual. Medyo hindi na tama yung beat kasi accomplishment lang ang hinihingi. So for letter C, about the scholastic performance, meaning academic performance lang ba ang nag-concentrate ang psychology. And letter D, about educational background of individual. So obviously, the correct answer here is about the cause of personality defects, because psychology is study of human behavior and personality like that. Personality is one part of human behavior. Yung accomplishment is about academic. Yung scholastic about schools or grades. Yung educational background naman, isa lang yan sa mga concept na ipag-aralan sa psychology. So primarily about personality defects. Number 20. Is a transfer of training easily takes place if the activities involved A, are different, B, have identical element, C, occur in the same place, D, vary in difficulty. So what's being asked here about the transfer of training or transfer of learning if the activities involved? Ang learning ba or transfer of training ba are different? B, identical element, parehas ba? Or it occurs in the same place lang? Or vary in difficulty? Ang tanong dito, kung may transfer of training ba, kung iba, identical, the same place, or vary in difficulty? The correct answer here, may A, may C silang nasagot, may B. Okay, the correct answer is for different means different samples from output. Pag sinabing binigay mo ngayon ay ibang, yung input mo ay iba sa output, so it means different. Pag sinabing identical, parehas. Yung anong input mo, siya yung output. Ang learning ba, of course, kung nasa isang environment kayo, nasa isang location lang kayo, isang place kayo, halimbawa sa classroom, may transfer of learning ba? Sure ka ba na may transfer of learning sa classroom? Kasi lahat kayo nasa isang location lang? Or may transfer of learning ba kung may difficulty, may samples, varying difficulty? So, ang sagot dyan ay letter B, have identical elements. Kasi kung ano yung may transfer of learning, kung mayroon kang pinasok nito, itong input mo, yun din ang output. So, identical, the same. So, may learning if there's an identical element. Excuse me. Okay, for question number 21. What is Freud's idea about a young boy's guilt feelings brought about by jealousy of his father's relationship with his mother? Now, si Freud, meron siyang theory na minsan ang lalaki ay may guilt feelings na may jealousy sila kung ang father nila ay masyadong attached sa lalaki o sa nanay. Or another way around, may jealousy ang bata na ang mother niya ay masyadong attached sa kanyang tatay. Yan ay part ng kay Freud's theory. So, sa concept na to, isa-sign natin. Ano ba yung penis envy complex? Yung penis envy complex ito yung kay Freudian psychoanalytic theory that proposes that very young girls feel now deprived and envious that they don't have penis. It's very common. Now, for letter C, is a phallic complex. Ito yung third stage of psychosexual development, spanning the stages of 3 to 6 years, wherein the infant's libido or desire centers upon their genitalia as erogenous zone. So, in this question, focus ka lang sa Electra and Oedipus na lang. So, if you could remember, the concept of Electra and Oedipus is from Freud. Sabi ni Freud na ang Oedipus complex daw refers to the boy's desire for his mother and jealousy of his father. And the opposite of that is Electra complex is a family counterpart of this theory. So, nagsimula daw ito about the name Electra in the Greek myth sought to avenge the death of her father, Agamemnon. So, according to Freud daw, na ang children daw, they desire their opposite sex parent. As a result, the child develops feeling of jealousy for their same-sex parent. This causes rivalry, jealous between father and son or mother and daughter. Also, Freud theorized that children develop erotic desires for their opposite sex parent. This desire remains repressed in the child's unconscious. The repressed desires does still influence the child's attachment toward each parent. So, Oedipus sa tatay, Electra sa nanay. Clue word, Electra, babae, Greek word. So, ang sa female, and Oedipus about the tatay. So, the correct answer here about Oedipus complex. Kasi jealousy of his father's relationship with his mother. 21 is letter B. Next, 22. According to Kohlberg, the dutiful citizen who obeys the laws set down by society is at which level of moral reasoning. Medyo complex ang question. Remember the stages of Kohlberg's theory about the conventional, the post-conventional, like that. So A, pre-conventional stage 1, B, pre-conventional stage 2, C, conventional, D, post-conventional. Now, may encounter kayo din ng mga questions related to these that they will not give you the choices. They will not give you the choices of the level of Kohlberg's theory. So you must know first the stages presented here. Okay, now take note, laws, obeys the laws in society. So it's about, in moral development of Lawrence, we have three: the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. For pre-conventional, you have stage 1 and stage 2, wherein Kohlberg expanded that in this stage, meron siyang obedience and punishment, and stage 2, individualism and exchange. And conventional is stage 3 and stage 4, about interpersonal relationships, and stage 4, maintaining social order. And for stage 3, the post-conventional, stage 5, social contract and individual rights, and stage about universal principles. To learn this specifically, take note that level 1 is about pre-moral, no? Because this is about moral development. Ano ba yung involvement ng mga bata when it comes to the moral development? We have 6 stages. The obedience and punishment and self-interest, about self. About family, about community, and humanity. Ang dami yan. About self, sarili muna, start sarili niya. Then, the nearest environment to the children, the family. And from family, about community, and the highest is about the humanity. Ang self, ang sarili nila, nagfo-focus sila about desire to obey rules and avoid being punished. So ito yung stage nila, yung mga bata ay very conscious sila na ay nilang ma-punish na basta they wants to obey. That's why ang bata, sabihin mo na, ang bata ay talaga masunurin. Kasi nga, in this stage, they decide to obey. Stage 2, about self-interest. Ano pa yung mga para sa kanya, mga position gusto niya, whatever na ginagawa ng mga bata, yung best for their interest. So about self-interest. And for stage 3, this is about family. In stage 3, children want the approval of others and act in ways to avoid disapproval. And stage 4 is about the child blindly accepts rules and convention because of their importance in maintaining the functioning society. So they want to follow the rules in this stage. So stage 5, the world is viewed as holding different opinions, rights, and values. Laws are regarded social contracts rather than rigid edicts. So yung question natin kanina, it falls on stage 5. So about for stage 5 belongs to conventional. And of course, the highest, the post-conventional, is about the universal ethical principles, about abstract reasoning, about equality, dignity, respect. So this stage, the adult part, is about humanity. So the question for number 22 is about conventional. Letter C, conventional. Letter 3, if Kathy is nice to Mark, situation 2, if Kathy is nice to Mark, he may be nice to her. But if Mark is mean to Kathy, Kathy won't feel bad about being mean too. To which Kohlberg stage does this scenario belong? Again, it's about the stages. Ang focus ng question dito as about kung mabait si Kathy kay Mark, si Mark din interact as mabait. Pero pag si Kathy ay mean, si Mark of course mean din siya. So this question tackles about the morality of an action depends heavily on the peer approval. Kung yun ang basic principle natin na ayaw mong gawin sa iyo ang ayaw mong gawin sa iba, or wag mong gawin sa iba ang ayaw mong gawin sa iyo. So ang tanong, in which stage itong scenario nangyayari? A, pre-conventional, B, conventional, post-conventional, or none of the above? Going back, it's in stage 6 because they generally have the principles of abstract rather than concrete, or focus on ideas such as equality, dignity, and respect. So the word here is equality, dignity, and respect. So going back to the question, it happens in post-conventional. 24. A teacher uses behavioral modification techniques in his classes. Which of the following student behaviors would he find most difficult to change? Again, ang focus natin dito ay difficult to change. Modification, behavioral modification technique. Ano ba yung gagawin ng teacher para mabago, to change, to correct yung behavior ng mga students na ano yung pinakamahirap? A, aggressive tendencies toward classmates. Mahirap ba na yung mga pagkitungo sa classmates nila, mahirap ba yung i-correct? B, poor habits in organizing work materials, about organizing work materials. C, interrupting a speaker. D, abandoning a project before it is finished. So, take note, ano yung pinakamahirap baguhin? Okay, i-level mo, i-weigh mo kung alin sa mga choices na to ang medyo magaan at saka pinakamahirap. Let's start with letter D. Abandoning a project before it is finished. Mahirap ba na i-correct sila na hindi iniwan yung mga project nila before it's finished, na hindi tinatapos? Medyo, it's a daily rule. Pwede ka mag-put ng rules sa class mo na, oy class, wag mo yung iwanan yung project nyo, tapusin nyo, or kailangan isubmit nyo on time. Mahirap ba yan? O i-weigh mo from 1 to 10, 1 to 5, kung dito yung pinakamahirap, or ganun, number mo siya 1, A, B, C, D. Or yung C, interrupting a speaker. Once may nagsalita, interrupt niya, madali ba i-correct yan? Maybe you can correct that one right after the child did it, right? Sabi mo, hey, next time, do not interrupt the speaker. It's good to wait until you're being called like that. Or letter C, poor habits in organizing work materials, like organization of materials. Mahirap ba yan i-correct? I think madali lang naman siya i-correct na right after na sabihin niya, the next time, gagawin niya ulit yun. ito, letter A, aggressive tendencies toward classmate. Ang content na ito, kasi may mga situation ang teacher na hindi niya alam ang nangyayari sa mga bata kung ano siya time with the classmates. Tama? Like recess. Or yung teacher wala dyan, or group activity. So, kung i-weigh mo, babasihan mo sa apat, feeling mo, letter A ang medyo mahirap na baguhin. Kasi may mga time na wala ka dyan. May mga time na hindi ka involved ang parents, so ang teacher. So, it's sometimes out of your control to correct them right away. Kasi yung B, C, and D, mas madali correct yan right after doing that thing. So, about organizing, about interpreting speaker. So, much better, the correct answer is letter A. Letter A, aggressive tendencies toward classmates. Okay, tuloy natin sa number 25. What is the main source of emotional support for most young people who are establishing independence from their parents? What is the main source daw of emotional support? Therefore, other people. Emotional support from other people outside. So, A, older adolescents of the opposite sex. B, older sibling. C, teachers. D, peer groups. Okay, tingnan natin mga answer sa live natin. May nag-answer ng A, may nag-answer ng D. So, take note, most young people, you saw yung mga adults. Sometimes yung adult ba kayo, ito pala, clue pala. Sometimes kung hindi nyo alam ang sagot, kung hindi nyo alam ang theory, go with your personal experience. Experience mo, analyze mo, internalize mo. Yung bata ba ako? Ano ginawa ko nung ganitong stage ako? Ano ginawa ng teacher ko? Ano yung mga situation na nangyayari? So sometimes, go with your own experience if you could not find it in the theory base. So, theory-wise, of course, you have to follow, but go ahead with your own experience. Sometimes, it happens. So, the answer is about peer groups. Kasi ang adolescent period, we usually exposed to peers. That's why ito yung stage as parent or as a teacher, ito yung stage na babantayan mo. Usually, dito sila na, let me say, somewhat napapaliwara. Kasi we are exposed by the peers, peer influence. Andito yung mahirap sila maniwala sa parents. Ito na yung may mga questions sila about life. Ang dami nilang mga, especially yung mga bata ngayon. Observe mo na hindi na sila parehas ng mga development ng bata before sa bata ngayon. That's why but the theory is still andyan pa rin. Pero we need to see based on our experience na yung mga bata ngayon na hindi na mahilig sila sa mga interaction with the society, with the peers, with the group, like that. So this question is about emotional support. Sometimes you cannot open from your teacher kasi nahiya ka kung may namang emotional issue. Sometimes di ka mag-open sa kapatid mo kasi it's very near, very closer to your family members. Sometimes hindi ka mag-open sa opposite sex kasi hindi ka mag-open sa girlfriend mo or boyfriend mo or sa ibang tao sa babae kasi ang babae at lalaki may different point of view. So that's why ang usual na nag-open ka sa emotional support mo comes to peer groups. Okay, move tayo sa 26. Who is the forerunner of the presence of the language acquisition device or LAD? Again, tao ang tatanong dito. Forerunner the presence of the language acquisition device. When you say language acquisition device, ito yung bata daw may normal na pinanganak na parang may a device sa sarili na makapag-acquire ng language through sounds. So, si Gene Watson ba yan? B. Howard Gardner ba yan? Si Noam Chomsky ba yan? Or D. Jean Piaget? So, let's say sa mga answers sa live natin, may C, may D. Okay. The correct answer here is to know first what's about language acquisition. Actually, this is about the acquisition of first language. If you could see the video on YouTube, mayroon video sa YouTube dun na dalawang bata nag-uusap. Hindi ko may share na yun. May dalawang bata nag-uusap na they using their own language, yung mga, wow, yung first sounds lang nila. Pero nag-uusap sila na walang words. Therefore, it's a manifestation na ang bata ay meron talaga tayong device na language acquisition device na de-develop lang to through the runs of time and the acquisition from outside. So, ito yung sasabing language acquisition device. Pero tayong piece inside or device inside of us that we acquire language. So, si Gene Watson, tandaan nyo na it's about theory of caring. Si Howard naman is about multiple intelligence. Si Noam Chomsky naman is about children on board with built-in ability to learn a first language. Obviously, this is a correct answer. And Jean Piaget about cognitive development. Okay? Tandaan nyo na about LAD. LAD means language acquisition device. Noam Chomsky. Siya ang nag-acquire nito, siya ang nag-theorize nito na ang bata ay merong LAD sa sarili. Language acquisition device. Okay. Correct? Okay. Number 23. Para tayo dito. 26. 27. Sabi dito, do not cheat. Cheating does not pay. If you do, you'll cheat yourself, says the voiceless voice from within you. In the context of Freud's theory, which is or are at work, A, id, B, superego, C, ego, D, id and ego interact. Sabi dito, sinasabi daw ng conscious mo na do not cheat. Cheating does not pay. If you do, you cheat yourself. So it seems na my subconscious dictating you that cheating is bad. So remember yung kay Freud's theory, yung tatlo to. I remember during our time na question to is about the Freud's theory. May mga learning tayo nito na alam nating ay ego pala yun or id pala yun sa sarili ko na may nag-dictate sarili mo. Remember, yung Freud's theory of psychoanalytic, meron tatlo yan. Yung id, ego, at saka superego. Id is about instincts. May instinct ka sa sarili mo. Ego naman, about reality. Superego is morality. And on the left side, you will see na yung itong ego naman, it's about pre-conscious. And the id is about unconscious ka. If natandaan mo yung Johari's window na 4 quadrants. If you tandaan niyo yung Johari's window 4 quadrants, the first quadrant, alam mo sarili mo kung ano ka at alam ng ibang tao. The second quadrant, alam ng sarili mo pero hindi alam ng tao. Ikaw na nakaalam. The third quadrant, alam ng ibang tao pero hindi mo alam sarili. So may mga bagay tayo na iba lang may alam na ikaw sarili mo hindi mo alam. That's why sabihin mo, hindi ka kilala ibang tao or hindi mo kilala sarili mo. Then the fourth quadrant, only God knows. This is being far from this theory. Yun lang ang sinasabi ko na sa sarili natin, meron tayong mga subconscious mind. Kung ano yung sinasabi ng sarili natin, conscious natin, or conscience natin, na dictate sarili mo. So, itong Sigmund Freud's theory, na psychoanalytic theory, na mayroon na tayong behavior na minsan ay nadidictate from components of our mind, the id, ego, and superego. Yung id ay yung mga unconscious and about instincts, reality, and morality. So, going back to the question, it's about the correct answer is letter B, superego. Kasi nagdidictate sa'yo na, hey, cheating is bad. So, it best belongs to superego, morality. The morality of doing that something. Okay. 28. Situational naman to. Which of the following conditions does not contribute to a climate psychologically suited to learning? A, the teacher acts like a real person. B, the teacher makes all the decisions about the students' learning activities. C, the teacher accepts students as they are. D, the teacher shows trust in students' decision. So, ang question, go with the question, ano daw yung hindi, does not contribute to climate, psychological suited learning, psychology, and the society. Letter B, teacher shows trust in the student's decision ba? Does the teacher always trust the student's decision? Sa C, sa teacher accepts students as they are. Kailangan tanggapin nila lahat ng teacher kung ano yung students. B, the teacher makes all decisions about students' learning activities. O kailangan ba yung teacher mag-decide lahat ng students' learning activities? Or A, the teacher controls the learning environment. Letter A is the correct choice. The teacher controls the learning environment. So when we say climate psychological, it's about prevailing mood, attitude, standards, and tone that you and your students feel they are in your classroom. So you have to eliminate which one is not. The correct answer for number 28 is B, the teacher makes all decisions about students' learning activities. Tandaan mo na we are not teacher-centered. You know, in teaching learning process, we will not center to teacher's choice only. We always base on the activities of the students, what is suited to them. Ano yung mga suited activities, suited skills, suited time. So this statement that the teacher makes all the decisions about students' learning activities will not or does not contribute to climate psychological of the students and learning. So the correct answer is letter B. Please take note, does and does not. If not, yung pinaka very least choice. Number 29. Which of the following stage or which of the following is the correct order of psychosexual stages proposed by Sigmund Freud? Medyo kailangan mo dito ay memorize talaga yung stages, pero kung may chance man na hindi mo na-memorize or hindi mo naman alam yung sequence, go with the clue or go with the wordings, no? Go with your common sense. So the questions being asked about psychosexual stage proposed by Sigmund Freud. Nag-i-start yan, ang pinaka-end at saka dulo niyan is about oral stage, no? From oral stage. At saka ang last niyan about genital stage. Tandaan nyo two words to remember about psychosexual stages. Oral, genital. So ngayon, let's try to cross out which of these choices yung may oral lang at saka genital. So, remove na ang number C and D. So remove na ang C and D kasi wala naman yung first at saka last as genital, ang first ay oral. So focus tayo sa A and B kasi ito yung may parehas na in the genital. So the correct answer is letter A. Oral stage and anal stage, phallic stage, latency, and genital stage. So sneak peek lang, bigyan ko kayo ng kunting background about psychosexual stages of development. So when we say Freud believed that the development of sexuality began at birth. His theory suggests that children will pass through the 5 stages of psychosexual development during childhood into adulthood. Tandaan nyo to. From childhood into adulthood, lahat tayo dadaan sa stage na to. From 0 to 2, oral. Yung bata dito ay, napansin nyo ay naglamsak pa sila, bubbling, feeding. So yun ang from 0 to 2. About infants, yung gratification through that activity. And anal, 2 to 3, the child learns to respond to some of the demands of society, such as the bowel, bladder control, like that. So nakapagin silang punta ng toilet or sa comfort room. So ito yung stage na to. And phallic, from 3 to 7, the child learns to realize the differences between males and females and becomes aware of sexuality. So from 3 to 7, dito nila ma-realize about yung sexes, gender. And latency from 7 to 11, this is a period wherein the child continues his or her development, but sexual urges are relatively quiet. So Dito na yung about playing about may mga crush na sila about admiration. So dito yung mga latency period. And genital about 11. An adult, this is a growing adolescent that shakes off all dependencies and learns to deal with maturely with the opposite sex. So ito yung pinaka-last na. Again, believe the two words only. Freud's psychosexual stages. From, yung pinakauna, oral. And last ay genital. Kung may mga questions man about sequence or proper sequence of development, basta yung bata simula from 0 to 2 about oral, yung tatamsak, yun ang clue word nyo. I-take note na lagi mo kayo may clue word. Kasi you cannot memorize the rest of these words and andun na kayo sa let. You cannot refresh or ano yung mga proper sequence. So go with your clue. Kailangan mayroon kang sariling clue, sarili mo na ano ba yung word magpaparemind sa'yo about that sequence. So for Freud's psychosexual stages, 0 to 2, oral. Last, genital. Bahala na kayo sa gitna. Yun na ang pakatandaan nyo lagi. Okay. 31. The teacher must be aware, sorry, I said earlier that we have only 30. Bonus na lang to. Let's continue discussing. I have 5 more questions here. 31. The teacher must be aware that both heredity and environment represent complex factors. Very common. Exerting many specific influences on an individual's growth, which of the following statements best represents the influence of heredity and environment? Ano din yung best? Take note sa mga questions. Meron yan does not apply or does apply, best represent, best associates. So, best represents ang questions dito. Nag-influence daw ng heredity and environment. A, heredity counts. Environment is less important. Sa inyo na yun, ano yung kaintindi nyo. B, if the environment is changed, heredity becomes less important. C, the relative influences of heredity and environment can vary widely in an individual growth. D, in the long run, both tend to cancel each other's influences. Okay, go with your instinct, eliminate yung mga hindi applicable. Eliminate D. In the long run, both tend to cancel. It's not part of, it doesn't make sense. So C, the relative influences of heredity daw at saka environment can vary widely in individual's growth. Medyo may sense siya. B, if the environment is changed, heredity becomes less important. Kung lumipat ba siya sa ibang lugar or lumipat ibang tao na malapit sa kanya, yung heredity ba less important na siya? Take note, heredity comes with your genes. It comes with your gene, not from the environment. A, heredity counts, environment is less important. So, less daw ang environment kaysa sa heredity. So the nearest or the closest best answer here is about letter C. The relative influences of heredity and environment can vary widely in an individual's growth. Okay. 33. Which characteristics, behavior of grade 4 pupils makes he conclude he is behind in his development in comparison with the average grade 4 pupil? Which characteristics? So, ang subject, ano daw yung behavior ng grade 4 pupils na makakonclude ang teacher na late na siya or behind his development in comparison, i-compare mo ng grade 4 pupils din. So, take note in a classroom situation, in a teaching learning process, you would not anticipate or you not conclude na pare-parehas ang development ng mga bata. Iba-ibang development ng bata. Basic yan, na they have their own IQ, EQ, meron siyang ibang development, meron siyang kanya-kanyang background. So, ang question dito, ano daw yung behavior, how would you assume na bakit behind ng isang bata sa isang bata na parehas silang level, grade 4 level. Take note yung LSA na sinabi ko, anong level? Grade 4. Anong aspect about behavioral? Ano yung subject? Yung delay. A, has not learned to get along with his age mates. B, has not achieved emotional independence from parents. C, has not achieved a feminine and masculine social role. D, has not achieved socially responsible behavior. Ang tinatanong dito, how would you assume, how will you conclude na behind ang development in comparison to the same level? Ano ba? Let's see, mga answer dito. Mayroong answer letter A, halos letter A. May C. Okay. The correct answer is letter A. He has not learned to get along with his age mates. Kasi ang letter B, ang letter B, ang emotional independence from the parents ay hindi, it's about emotion, no? Hindi sila pwedeng get away from their parents. Hindi ba daw sila like emotionally independent from their parents? Yung mga bata ba na independent from the parents, may reason ba yon? May cause ba yon bakit delay ng development nila? Or letter C, ang sexes, about gender, yung masculine ba at saka feminine ng social role ng mga bata, hindrance ba yun para ma-delay sila para sa ibang pupil? Or letter D, social responsible behavior, yung factor ba na about society being responsible to society, factor ba yung na behind ako sa development ng mga bata? It's not. So the correct answer is letter A because yung development ng bata hindi pare-parehas. Hindi pare-parehas yung development ng bata in one situation, in one classroom. Okay. Moving on, 34. When the learner reaches a point where no further improvement can be expected, he is in so-called what? Development crisis. B, regression. C, learning plateau. D, depression. Ano ang question dito yung subject na paano ma-realize na yung bata ay wala ng further improvement? Di ka pwede mag-conclude, ha? Mga teachers, future teachers, sometimes di ka pwede mag-conclude by your own self na ang bata wala ng improvement, hindi siya natuto na, ay ano to, ay ganito. Hindi ka pwede mag-conclude to anything lang. You must study. You must diagnose the situation of our students. That's why we need to learn child and adolescent development. Kasi hindi pwede na mag-conclude ka lang na, ay, itong batang to, slow learner to. Ay, itong batang to, that's an IQ or high performer. Because sometimes you are influenced by your own experience. Sometimes you're influenced by the community also. So as a teacher, you must know how to diagnose, you must know how to study your pupils. That's why sabihin mo, mga anak mo na yan sila, kaya in every behavior, napansin mo na iba yung behavior ng bata pagdating, at saka bakit ang bata ay hindi na nagpa-progress sa certain subject, yung mga bata na very low performing sa certain aspect. Tandaan, meron na tayong multiple intelligence, so hindi tayo mag-conclude na isang aspect lang bata ay very low or low performing in certain subject. So, lumay na tayo, going back to the question, when the learner reaches a point where no further improvement can be expected, ano na ang tawag dyan in theoretical base? Hindi tayo sasabing na, ay, batang to, tamad na to. Pwede ka doon. So may mga corresponding wordings or corresponding theory naka-associated with that situation. About, isasay natin, actually the correct answer is learning plateau. When it's flat. Okay. It's about learning plateau. Going to the question, again, it's about learning plateau. Hindi naman pwedeng depression lang. Hindi pwedeng regression. Hindi pwedeng development crisis. Kasi in psychological term, we use the word learning plateau. Ang tawag dyan sa mga parang wala ng expected growth sa isang bata. Okay, last question for this session is about as young people mature, society expects them to develop competences and assume social rules in a conventional manner. Again, as young people mature, society expects them to develop competences and assume social rules in a conventional manner. A, expectation of parents. B, influence of peer groups. C, influence of formal education. D, cultural demands. Ito na yung mga social development. No? Society will expect you your development. Okay, let's say yung bata, student A, nasa harap mo or nasa klase mo. Now, you are part of the society also, even though you're part of the environment. So as a young people mature now, what society expects them to develop competences and assume social roles in a conventional manner. So what do we expect of them? A, expectation of parents, influence of peers, influence of formal education, or cultural demands. About society, let's see the answers here. My B, my C. Okay. Letter A, cultural demands. It's about cultural demands because yung tao, society, may mga influences factors yan. Yung culture, culture is not just mean only the practices being practiced in your community. Andyan din yung language. Andyan din ang practices about culture. Andyan yung ginagawa ng mga tao, society. So the best answer for this number is 35 is about cultural demands. Okay, that's it for this afternoon session. I hope you learned a lot. And if you have any questions, you can ask a question now if you have to clear something. I think that is our session for this afternoon.
Yes. Doc Arthur Basbas, on behalf of Teacher A Online Review Center, we would like to thank you for your time and full of learnings in this review in child adolescent development. Announcement to all the reviewers: materials of Dr. Arthur Basbas will be posted in your Google Classroom. Also, announcement for your tomorrow review. It will be our last live session with Ma'am Mirna Piedad from Philippine Normal University. And then after that, final coaching will start on September 3 for Majorship, Prof Ed, and Gen Ed. This will be exclusive to all enrolled students only. So tomorrow will be our live session with Miss Mirna Piedad from Philippine Normal University, covering teaching profession and facilitating learning. Okay, so Doc Basbas, thank you for your time. And then another session with Dr. Basbas will be, I will coordinate with Dr. Basbas when will be his available day and then time this month of September for the final coaching also. So again, thank you, Dr. Basbas, for your time, full of learnings for today's LET review. Any question po sa mga participant natin? Any question before we end this session? Anyone? Meron po bang tanong? So we can end this review. But please wait for your materials in your Google Classroom. Dr. Basbas?
Yes, sir.
Meron ka pa pong sasabihin, sir?
I have nothing to say, but good luck. This is part of our requirement to be a professional teacher and to pass the licensure. But take it from me, a good try until you succeed. The very basic thing to suggest to you that there'll be a perfect time. Learn, read, and know the theories. Most important thing, theories, and go to institutional. Go ahead, take your time to review, and I know you can do this. And good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Basbas. And we still have 26 days. So 26 days, use that para i-review nyo lahat. Balikan nyo lahat ng review materials nyo para ma-refresh kayo. So all materials are comprehensive, especially sa ating Prof Ed and then Gen Ed and then yung sa majorship nyo. Balikan nyo yung sa Google Classroom nyo lahat ng mga materials and go back to the recorded video, recorded lecture during intensive review last year and then this year. So balikan nyo, ang dami nyong makukuhang techniques. Okay? For that, thank you so much and keep safe everyone and God bless.
Thank you.